What little helicopters? Which ones?
We had TH-55s, training helicopter 55s, and then we had OH observation helicopter 23. If you think back about Korea and the little bubble helicopter,
okay,
that was either a 23 or a TH-13, which was a little observation, and then they strapped on some where they could a lift capability for the two patients on each side. So you start with that, and it's a single engine reciprocal, and so that's where you got that training. And then we moved on. We graduated from primary to advanced.
And did you stay in the same location? Did you stay in the same location?
No.
Where'd you go?
We went to Hunter Army Airfield, Savannah, Georgia.
Okay.
That had just converted from the Air Force, and what advanced training is normally always given and was given at Fort Rucker, Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
The classes were so big, and the population of the aircraft and people to fly was really an overburden for the Rucker area. So the Army decision was to go ahead and open up Hunter Army Airfield and fly out of there.
Okay.
And I was one of the first. I was in first class, official class at Hunter.
Neat.
And that's where we flew Hueys.
You flew what?
Hueys,
okay.
UH-1.
And what does Huey stand for?
It's a helicopter utility.
Okay.
And then attached EY to it.
Yeah.
I have a friend that I served.
That's the bigger one that can carry wounded and
there was
cargo.
There was different models,
yeah.
And you had the Huey was actually the first that we could carry part of a squad.
Is that the one you always see in the Vietnam movies where they're shooting the guns out of the side doors?
If you look at the side, the UH-1A models had a single door on the side that could slide open. And then as you moved along, you had the A's and the B's and the C's, and then you had the D's, and the D was a lift. And D's and H's have bigger engines, a different rotor system, and more capable. And then the doors went back, and then they mounted the guns.
Okay, now those would be the ones that, when they lifted the float bridge into the Sava River over in Bosnia, they'd have used them, right?
Well, they would have used larger than the Hueys. Because then you get into the bigger helicopters that have twin rotors. It started off with the old bananas, but then you had, we call them Chinooks.
Okay.
And then helicopters are named after all aircraft. They try and name them after Indian tribes. Give some recognition.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. And it's really
That's neat.
They get the particular tribe to consent and to use the name. And like a Huey was Iroquois.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you can go back through all the fixed wing too, and you look at their names and the helicopters.
Okay. So you're in advanced here.
Yeah. Then I finished. I had an ambidextrous, and when you look at a helicopter, you've got in your left hand is a collective pitch that makes you go up and down. In the smaller helicopters, you got to roll on the power where the blades are slow down.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to pull the blades to tip to go up, but you got to roll power on too.
Mm-hmm.
And that's automated in the larger helicopters. So you got a collective pitch lever, and then you got a cyclic control. Roll your aircraft to the right, roll to the left, nose down, increase your speed, back, and then you've got pedals. So you've got both hands and both pedals going. Because as you add more power or pitch, then you get this yaw.
Uh-huh.
So you want to go straight, you got to add pedal or take it out. So it's kind of like the guys that are dancing, good dancers. And so,
Or a drummer.
yeah. So with it being, I write left-handed, but I pitch on hand right-handed. I throw a football right-handed or left-handed, and with all that, it was much easier for me to pick it up.
I bet it was.
Some of the real dominant right-handed folks had a great problem, but overcame it, most of the guys.
They should have played video games. They should have played video games as kids, because you learned to use both hands.
Yeah, that helps. Really helps.
Okay. So, now, what else did you do in advanced training?
Well, it was all tactics. Mm-hmm. Yeah, not all, but it was a tactical application.
And this is all in the classroom, right? This is all in the classroom?
No, in the field. Then in the field. You go in the classroom, you find out what you have to do, and exactly how and why is the philosophy applied here, and all the technical aspects incorporated, and then you go to the field, and it's a lot of formation flying. So, you fly pretty close.
Yeah.
And that's then nighttime operations, daytime, and then you begin to apply what are the gunships doing for you, and how are they covering you, and where do we bring in the jets, and where do we bring in the artillery, and the application then to the.
How does it all fit together then?
Yeah.
Okay. And when you graduated from there, where'd you go?
Then I went on to Vietnam.
Okay.
Oops, I just missed a beat.
Okay.
I went to the aircraft maintenance course at Fort Eustis, Virginia. And to me, having been raised on a little farm, dairy farm, and all the mechanics involved and all the repair cycles and the systems, and I really enjoyed that. I like to be able to take a system apart and understand how it's being applied. And within helicopters, you've got multiple subsystems, and then all the drive system and that sort of thing is just, and I really liked it.
Okay.
So with that.
And how long were you there?
Then on to Vietnam.
Well, no, how long were you there?
That would have been, I think, about 2 months. Very accelerated, and a lot of veterans there.
Cram your head as full as it'll get, huh?
Yeah. You opened your head and poured in all that knowledge.
What time of the year was it when you left?
I got, I think, 20 days leave, and then I went to Vietnam, and that was all in May, early May of '68.
How'd you get there?
I was going to tell you, I swam, but I didn't. Flew on over.
You flew over?
Yeah.
And what kind of plane?
It was a commercial.
Okay.
Big commercial airliner. And I did have opportunities to, we had an hour or so, hour and a half on the ground in Hawaii. And there again, when you have 3 brothers and then yourself, the 4th, my oldest brother was stationed there. And so I got to meet with him, and then I boarded up and off to Vietnam.
Can you tell me your first impression of Vietnam?
First impression was when we were bussed off the plane and being bussed. Diesel smell. You could smell the hot sauce.
Yeah.
Dusty. But when the people were all busy doing things.
What season was it over there?
It was in May, so it was
but
into this rainy season. Just
into the
just getting over
season.
Yeah.
Oh, it was just getting over?
Yeah.
So it was pretty muddy, huh?
Oh, later on, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I've got a number of pictures with I'm sitting in my hooch with water up to my knees.
Gotcha.
The metal chair looks like it's floating on the water. It was muddy, smelly.
Where did you land?
Tan Son Nhut.
I'll say that again.
Tan Son Nhut.
Okay.
It was the major airport.
What part of the country is that in?
That was Saigon.
Saigon, okay. And what did you do after you got there?
What did I do when I got there?
Yeah.
Made some calls and told them I'd arrived, and I'm looking forward to digging in and getting a location. And, I tried to call my number 2 brother, who was there in Vietnam, but he was in the field, and I was just going to say, hey, now I'm going to cover for you, but
yeah,
as a joke.
We sure.
But and I called the unit, and then they came up and they flew up and picked me up. So I went down to the Delta.
What unit was that? What unit was that?
175th Assault Helicopter Company,
okay,
down in the Mekong Delta, and it was, being Glenn had the country covered up in 2 Corps. They figured if they shipped me to 4 Corps, I'd cover that.
Now, 4 Corps, what's that?
4th Corps. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's where how the country was divided.
Okay.
So, and then you had major commands established to cover those areas.
Okay.
And being it was mountainous to the north and in the south there, over in the Cambodian border, we had a few mountains, and south of that, but otherwise it was all, well, I shouldn't say mud, but a lot of water.
Well, the word delta draws visions
River
of
delta, the Mekong River.
Mud and mosquitoes and a lot of vegetation.
Yes, and the further south you went, the various canopies and jungles came in to play.
Okay, and what did you do when you got there? I got my room squared away and my stuff, and then I went down to see the guy who I was replacing. And he had done a real good job. Kind of a caustic fellow. He'd come up from the enlisted ranks, and then was commissioned as a warrant. So he'd come up through the ranks and through the Warrant Officer Corps, and then was commissioned. And he'd done a real good job with it and established great coordination with the supporting units. And he was just a little caustic guy, and I'll never forget sitting down in a hangar. We had an old French airfield, and an old hangar, and so it was interesting to see, and you know he'd been there an awful long time. And he said to me, this captain, he said, "What's your worth?" Well, I thought, well, I'll dig in my pockets and see if I've got some change and find out how much I'm worth there. Yeah.
But it was a good question. So, you know, he wanted to know what my capabilities are,
yeah,
what I'd done.
Yeah.
He didn't want to turn over what he had done to somebody that was going to fail.
Yeah. At this time, what was your rank?
I think I was a first lieutenant. Yeah, I was a first lieutenant at the time, because I made captain in country before I came out. And so I'll never forget that, and that really caused me to think.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I carried that all my career, and I've probably done a little bit of that to folks that were coming into my units. But of course, it was a great responsibility. It was not only the maintenance, but also running the. I had 132 guys, 131, 132, and so I was responsible for all of them to the unit commander.
Yeah.
And so I had all the shops, and besides that, I had to fly. I went in country at 187 pounds. I'd played football in high school and college,
and track and some wrestling. And so I was always in real good shape, but 187 pounds in country. And I came out a year later at 155. I was really tired and melted down.
Burnout.
You know, and the food just, and the mess halls, if you got the semblance of a steak, it was really, the grease they used wasn't good. But I got by. But I was getting 2 to 3 hours of sleep a day at night, and that's all, because I was flying with the platoons, and then ensuring that all the maintenance was up and the number of the aircraft available, and on and on and on, and then coordinating with other units. And I had some.
How many other units did you have to coordinate with?
Well, you had to coordinate with your support unit, for one. You coordinated with the other unit that was the 113th that was on the airfield. You also had some, the Navy and the Seahawks, and then trying to trade with them things you needed and passing on. And then there were some, I even had to go ahead and fly off to other locations. We had some disposal areas in which they would tear down aircraft that were demolished, and there were some parts that you could get and that sort of thing, some depots. So, and then other units in 3 Corps. So there was always doing that to ensure.
That's a whale of a lot of responsibility.
I'm sorry?
That's a whale of a lot of responsibility on a first lieutenant.
It is. I had good people working for me, and but it was just go, 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 go. And then with your flying, it seemed like I flew every day, but I'm sure there were some days that were off. With that, you were always out on site and keeping things going.
And
somebody finds a problem.
Which helicopters were you flying then?
Well, at that time, we were flying UH-1Ds, Delta, and so that had the double flat panel in the door and a little larger engine.
And the machine gunner?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And what were your missions? What were your missions?
We were supporting the Vietnamese in the Delta, and we also had the 9th U.S. Division down the river ways. Okay. So we would move them, insert them, pick them up, haul out ambulatory folks, people that have been wounded or hurt. And then we'd also...
Did you carry flight nurses? Did you carry flight nurses?
No, no, we didn't. We had a unit that supported us, medevac, and we'll get to that later, okay, if you want. And so that unit would support us, but the emergency arose and you had to move somebody, you moved them to hospital for further aid, and Johnny on the spot.
Gotcha.
So.
All right, well, how long did you do that?
For a year.
For a year.
Yeah.
And then what did you do after that?
Before we move on.
Okay, go ahead.
Another thing that was required of me is to ensure that the pilots, all the pilots, in their training, and we had quite a number of W1 pilots, new out of school, and so you
W1.
Warrant Officer 1, Class 1, 2, 3, 4, no, 5. As I observed, having been an educator and a pilot teacher, and I just, some of the guys really did pay attention to what was going on. So then would have classes, set them down and say, okay guys, now, do you remember this? And they ask the question, do you? Hey, Schmitty? And found that there was things that could happen and did happen. And one instance was that we had two W1s flying a Huey. And with normally new pilots, and we were so short of aircraft commanders, we would put them back in a formation, a V formation, and Chalk 1, Chalk 2, Chalk 3, Chalk 4, Chalk 5. So they'd go in the Chalk 4 or Chalk 5 position and be told, follow the lead. Okay. Don't get lost. Follow the lead. Well, and don't deviate. Well, I'm at the airfield one day and not flying. I had to catch up. And there was a call came in that just one unit had seen an aircraft, had seen another aircraft lose its main rotor. Well, and it was one of our birds. One of the outlaw birds had gone down, so I jumped in the aircraft and took a crew and en route. And what had happened was that crew of 2 W1s, they broke off a formation and they heard a call from a Vietnamese unit to come and pick up they had a soldier severely wounded. Well, what had happened was that they did break off. They went and got this Vietnamese guy, and they weren't a great distance from the hospital, probably 30 minutes. And they went in and they took a round through the crew chief's chest into the transmission. And so they then the door gunner was trying to take care of him, had the Vietnamese aboard, and they took off and what they did, they come up on our emergency frequency and to everyone, I have so and so, outlaw so and so. This is here's what happened. So I'm en route to go find out. And if you look at it's just like your transmission fluid. Transmission, and of course your gearbox, your transmission is you have 2 gauges. One is pressure. Okay, if you got pressure, you got fluid. Okay, if you lose pressure, you're in trouble. You land within 2.5 minutes. You better be on the ground because it's going to freeze up. Turn up your power. Just keep it there. You also have now a transmission coil temperature bulb. So what they did was they had said, we've lost our transmission oil pressure, but our temperature is okay. The oil then lays in that temperature bulb because it's not circulating. You don't have anything to push it on. And that's why 2.5 minutes, you better be on the ground.
The bulb may be okay, but what's inside the transmission is getting hot.
It's going. Well, I took that upon myself to mean that I failed them. And you really, you start asking the question, why didn't I go through that again now? Because we've had a turnover, and so you just. So I went right to the crash site, and couldn't get the Air Force to come put out the fire, and so everything was burning, but I could identify 3 of the bodies. And then we had to send some people out the next day, and I'm glad I went out and was there, and because I could tell them of the 5 people where the 3 were, who was here. And while the co-pilot, of course, were way down in the mud, and they didn't burn up. But that's the sort of thing that you just, as a coach or teacher or a leader, you've got to cover all the bases. So, and that was one instance. But there were others. But you still dream about that.
Sure. That's a lot of responsibility.
So
that went on for a year, and of course, the soldiers and officers that I had were turning over, got new guys in, and then you really don't ever let it happen again.
Well, no.
You tell yourself.
Yeah. You do everything you can in any case. The guys that were coming in new, were they coming in groups or individuals?
Normally individuals. What they had was that when the units first went in country, and then as newer and follow-on units were coming, they would then take and mix some of the people from older units, so you'd get a dispersion of deroast dates, date of return from overseas. So you then had people moving continuously in and out, which worked out pretty well. And then you always had the volunteers, the guys that stayed on, and that my number 2 brother, Glenn, I think he stayed after number 4 brother was killed. Glenn brought Don's body home, and then Glenn went back in the country. And so he stayed in Vietnam for 6 years.
Okay.
So.
Well, now, after your year...
Came back.
You came back.
Came back from Vietnam.
How did you get back?
In May of '69.
And how?
Big Bird.
Big
Freedom Bird, as we call it. Then I went on to the advanced course at, no, I'm sorry.
I bet you went home
I went to
first.
Hunter Army Airfield, back to Hunter Army Airfield.
I bet you went home first, didn't you?
Yeah, leave.
Big
Right.
party?
Oh yeah, had a good time, relaxed, and son and daughter, and my wife, and we just had a good time. I enlisted. I joined the service out of Minnesota. That was my home, but I had been teaching in Montana. So because my family was located there, in northern Minnesota. So I came back. It was really cold up there.
I bet your wife was glad to see you. I bet your wife was glad to see you.
Yeah, it was. We had met in Hawaii, and that helped break it up. But yeah, it's always nice to my high school sweethearts, you know.
Oh yeah.
You really grow together.
Yes.
Went to Hunter Army Airfield, Savannah, Georgia. I had been there, of course, in advanced flight school training, and I was in the garrison in AER, Army Emergency Relief Officer first, and run at Hunter. So you had Hunter.
What is that?
Army Emergency Relief.
What is that?
That's an organization where people donate to, and they, if we have a young troop that's come in, he has no money, he's got a family, we get him set up, and we can give him loans or grants and that sort of thing.
Okay.
And got to, my wife participated.
And what rank are you?
I'm a captain now.
Okay.
Then.
Okay.
So enjoyed that. Got to.
How many people did you have working under you?
We had here's Savannah, Georgia, Hunter Army Airfield, and then you had Fort Stewart, Georgia, and they were under one command. And the general was there at Hunter because of all the activity and all the responsibility. And so I was there, I think, about 6 months.
How many people did you have under you?
Oh, probably a staff of 3 or 4.
At both places?
No.
Oh, you was just a hunter?
Yeah.
Okay.
And because they also have an office over at Stewart. But after just a few months, and we had a brigadier, James Smith, General Smith, and he called. No, I'm sorry.
then what happened was that the garrison company commander was a lieutenant colonel.
Okay, now
He was
what is a garrison?
Garrison is all your troops. The garrison on a facility is the organization which then manages, if you will, all of the troops in the units there. They provide all the support for those units there.
Okay.
And there were 800 and some troops in the garrison. Well, they picked me, captain, to replace the lieutenant colonel. He was going off to school.
Gotcha.
Command General Staff. He hadn't picked that yet, I believe. And so I ended up with all those. It was 825 people.
Wow.
And then, of course, all the intricacies of the post. And I've been in that work.
So you were the head honcho.
I was the head honcho, yeah. But I was happy to have. And I think the teaching that I had and also the experience of being an enlisted guy in the National Guard and having two brothers enlisted and two of us are officers. And with all that, you know what's going on and you know people.
Yes.
And so I had some fantastic first sergeant and other folks that would get the job done. And I appreciated that. I then was asked if I'd be interested in being an aide to the Commanding General. So I went, interviewed, and I said, sir, I'd love it. But, I've only been in command for 6 months. I've got to get a year. And he smiled. He became a great guy in my mind. And he was just super. He said, I know. He said, I want you, but I can't have you. He said, we'll be together again. So I finished my assignment as Garrison Company Commander. And then from there
did you have anything humorous or unusual happen while you were in command?
Yeah, there was, with all those troops, and some of them, of course, were characters.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, with those numbers, and then we had some drug problems. Mm-hmm. And, of course, trying to attack those and keep them straight. But we were processing one guy for a court-martial, and so I had a sergeant in charge of him. Stay with him. Don't let him get out of your sight. Mm-hmm. Well, I was in my office one morning, and the first sergeant came in top. He said, Captain, listen to this guy. He said, you can't guess what happened. I said, no, I can't. Okay. So the guy came in. It was the sergeant that was supposed to have the guy in the string. Mm-hmm. He said, sir, I only let him go to the bathroom. I only let him go to the bathroom. I said, did you follow him in? No. And he went out the window. The fellow did, and he ran down to the Loop Road, which interstate around Savannah there, near Hunter, and one of our agents, criminal investigation, had recognized him when he was driving down the road. So the guy goes out to the road and he's hitchhiking, and his car stops, and the door opens. It's the guy that's been working his case. Is that funny?
That is funny. I bet the guy didn't think it was.
He just...
Yeah. I can imagine.
Come on in. And there was other times, too, that just... I remember our ball team, company ball team was playing, And I was there watching him, and we were ninth inning, and we were down 3. And I told the guys, I said, now, while I'm gone to get the beer, you guys score those runs, and we'll have the championship. Okay, I'm leaving. And so I came back with the beer, and he had scored 4 runs.
Well, you gave him a good pep talk.
They said, it really fired us up. You put the bug on our back. And I've been one that's always been quite religious, and I believe we're here to do something with our lives, and we have protection. For instance, back in Vietnam, I had been in mortar attacks 3 times, and they were blowing my room away and blow me. And I woke up, and I was working so many hours that I just had to get 2 or 3 hours sleep. And I was in the bunk, and mosquito net tucked in, and just outside of my feet, outside of this wall of screen, was a sidewalk going across, and I woke up, and something, and right over my left shoulder was a column of light. And I tried to see what it was. I was and I was trying to visualize the face. And this thing said, Jerry, don't do anything stupid. Well, I'm thinking, was that my brother Don that had been killed? Or is that an angel, something? Yeah. So, and there wasn't anything going on, but Jerry, don't do anything stupid. You're doing a little bit of shaking.
Yeah.
And the first mortar round went off. It just within a couple minutes. The first mortar round went off, and the second one was en route. They'll drop a mortar, and they'll drop another one, and they got 3 or 4 coming. And so instead of running for the bunker, which I had to go out the room, turn left down the hallway, turn left again into the bunker. So from my bunk, the bunker was right over here, but there was a wall. And so I would normally run. Well, Jerry, don't do anything stupid. Right away, anything happens, I'm going to crawl. And I crawled up, wore the hide off the knees and elbows and toes. But when I just got out my little passage doorway coming down, and that round, the second round, went off probably 5 feet from the end of my bunk and sprayed across, took everything, but it went off over top of me. Without that guardian angel, I'd have been dead. Even my shaving kit was polished.
Awesome.
But that was
well, you obviously saw combat.
Mm-hmm.
Were there many casualties in your unit?
We had, I remember right after I got in country, we had a new guy in who was just at the next hooch that had been there a week. And he was responding to a mortar attack and going for a bunker, and he turned around, went back and got a pistol and pulled on some pants, and that killed him. Had another fellow that a mortar round went off right up in the roof, and everything came down.
Mm.
And
was that in a bunker? Was that in a bunker? Or
no, it was just in our hooches were metal roof,
mm-hmm.
and then screen, and then metal on a concrete pad.
Okay.
In a hallway down the middle, and little rooms off to each side. And so there wasn't any protection, if you will. You just had to, when the sirens went off, you better be getting into a bunker.
Gotcha. Okay.
That was Go, 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 go.
All right. Now we were back with your garrison.
Okay, we're at Garrison at Hunter.
Yeah. Where'd you go from there?
It was. Then I was going back to Vietnam, so they sent me on the fixed wing training.
Okay.
At Fort Stewart was the primary, and then on the Fort Rucker for advanced, for twins and turbines. And then and then I went on to Fort Huachuca for aerial surveillance, which was intercepting radio transmissions and stuff. And then they had shut down a unit in Vietnam. There were 2 units. They shut the unit down that I was going to go to. So,
what does that mean? What does that mean?
Shutting down the unit. Well, as they were drawing down some of the units assigned to that area.
So as the guys were going home, they weren't replacing
the numbers.
So as the guys were going home, they weren't replacing them?
Right.
Okay.
Or going home or going to other units to build them up. So what happened was that I remember now, I got assigned to St. Louis. Advanced course, and then on to St. Louis.
Where in St. Louis?
Right over here. right downtown, 8 blocks from the Arch. In that Aviation Systems Command.
Okay.
Yeah. And with that assignment, I came into an organization of maintenance support. It's a large organization. All the project managers here for all the aircraft, and so I started off first assigned to a unit that goes to train people in all the equipment used for the new helicopter or fixed wing or whatever it may be. So, and I did that for 6 months. Then I moved up as a deputy for director of maintenance.
Okay.
And then here comes the aide de camp thing again. Okay. So then General Heinrich, 2-star, Major General, was looking for an aide. And so I interviewed, and he said, I understand you interviewed once before. So I became his aide, and now I was rotary wing and fixed wing and all the maintenance and on and on. And so I proved myself in the field.
What is an aide to a general?
An aide de camp is someone as an officer normally, depending on the rank of the general. And so as a captain, and you check his schedule and you sure everything is proper. You listen to people, and you write his letters for him and thank yous. And it was broken out to where we had some other people who were writing the technical letters and so in setting up the parties.
So you were like a personal assistant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I worked for General Heinrich for I think it was 2 years, and then he was retiring, and then General Johansson, the 2-star, came in, who was an aviator again, and he wanted me to stay on. Well, that just doesn't happen, but it happened. So I stayed with him and thoroughly enjoyed it. Just wonderful, wonderful men. And it's just like fathers, just like my dad.
I'll bet you have some unusual and funny stories to tell about that.
They were so good, so moral, so straight. And my wife, of course, is a person of same ilks, and she did. In the military, as you know, it takes not only a husband but a wife also. Mm-hmm. It's compatible, and they work together.
Supportive.
She does she worked as hard as I did. So that was my time. Oh, then I was, when I finished, I was, let's say, 8 p.m. to, I think, trying to remember how it came. Oh, I then was selected as an assistant project manager for aircraft survivability equipment, which was another step up.
Where's that?
It was, it's your countermeasures for radar and infrared, and also the jammers and paint suppressors on.
Yeah. Where was that?
That was here.
Okay.
So and then I enjoyed that because the Army was the lead in all those.
So how many people did you have under you then?
I was an assistant project manager, so I had access to all the PM people, but it was myself, and I had a secretary assistant, a lady that had been there for quite a few years.
Knew what she was doing, huh?
Really good. And it was, we were ahead of the Air Force in that, because that was the infrared and the reflections off the windscreens and the paint and all that stuff. That's where the black helicopters came about. So, and I was a guy named Green, working Green aircraft that had to turn them black.
Okay. Well, how long did you do that?
That was probably 6 or 8 months, and then it was a time to go to Korea. So it was on to Korea.
Yeah.
First tour. And I was assigned to Seoul, the capital. And right there was an aviation group, 17th Aviation Group. So I was assigned as a group. That's all the aircraft in the country, except for the 2nd Division, as an aircraft maintenance officer. So I was sitting at the side of an 06, right in Seoul, where 8th Army was located. So
you were in charge of this. You were not doing the maintenance, right?
I was in charge.
Okay.
Well, I was the advisor to the 17th Aviation Group commander.
Okay.
So I was kind of his aide, if you would, but and it was very interesting and challenging.
How many aircraft were there that you were over?
Over in the country?
How many aircraft?
I think there was about 320 or 340.
Wow.
So, in those units. So my job was to get out and put all the data together for him, updated, and so he could address anything that was occurring to the 8th Army.
Okay.
Then I would visit all the units and see what they weren't doing that I was doing when I was a captain.
There you go.
And then trying to improve the aircraft maintenance over all the percentages, and which we did. And that was, again, I had some great people working for me, some guys who've been in Korea for quite a while. But I again was without the wife and family, so my hours, are 24 hours a day. And as Colonel said in the write-up, he said, this guy he works like 3 guys. And I enjoyed keeping busy and at it. And I've never been one to hang around the bars. I've never smoked. I'll have a glass of wine once in a while, but I just could never let myself be incapable of doing my job.
I understand.
And I never want to be. I guess I was always taught to be a leader. Again, back to my stepfather. Be a leader. Be there, do it, protect your people. And with that, it was very, very, did very well. And
How long did you do that?
A year.
A year.
A year without family. It's a year tour.
Okay. And then where'd you go?
Just trying to remember, I didn't cut anything out. Then I went to Command and General Staff College, Fort Leavenworth.
Okay.
Fort Leavenworth. And that was a year program.
You were
thoroughly enjoyed
in
it.
class or teaching?
No, I was there as a student.
Okay.
It's a year-long course.
And on what?
It gives you the total military perspective when you look at America and the integration, and it's with that you start with your Secretary of Defense and work down and also Congress and funding and all of that, how that works, and then you get into all the philosophies and you're into a lot of history.
Okay.
And then introduction to computers and programming, and so it's a busy time. Busy.
Sounds like it. And that was a year? That was a year?
A year. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Really enjoyed it. And then I was selected for the project manager's course up at in D.C. area, and that's where they're tailoring you to become a project manager in major programs. And that was 6 months, I guess, which was great. Friends, from the past, and really super people, very intellectual and just good people going to work with. As a project management course, then I was then qualified to become a project manager. Well, I then was assigned back to St. Louis. And I just don't want the sequence. Project manager, then to St. Louis, and I went into the Blackhawk project management office. I was the guy in charge of fielding all the new airframes and all the equipments and all the people and the teams, and that was enjoyable. But a lot of time spent, but good perspective on what the project managers themselves have to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then, when you read it, every time you move up a step, you then think from where you were and what was that impacting your ability to do your job. And that's the decisions made by guys like the project managers when it comes to materials. So that was, to me, it was great. Hey, as a farm boy, I'm learning an awful lot.
Yeah.
And so I was then I had all the field and assistant project manager, logistics, and then got into where does the support come from? How do we work it? How do we keep it going? How do we get the right parts at the right time? And you have everything on the ground when it's needed, and so all the sequential activities that take place. And really enjoyed that. Then I got another assignment to Korea. Okay. So it was another 1 year. Well, what I did was, because of the age of my children, so many guys in the military will bounce around, but they'll, move. What I did was take short tours in lieu of.
Mm-hmm. So your family gets to stay in one place and be stable.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
I just knew what the wife had to do and all that, and she was going to school too, finishing a degree, and so I went back to Korea, and this time it was down south of Seoul, and where we had our big support base.
And that was to be a battalion XO.
XO.
Executive officer to the commander.
Well,
So,
that's second in command.
second command.
Wow.
I
Okay, now over how many people? How many soldiers?
We were supporting all the missiles, and out of the battalion we had the missiles and all the aircraft and some artillery. And just so again, it was 340, I think, aircraft.
How many people?
We had 800 again, like I had as a captain, so, but I didn't have a lot of control over that.
Yeah.
We had a control here. So as the XO, and then the battalion commander rotated. We had a new guy come in, and he was working real hard to get things done, but he didn't have the background, and so they removed him, and I became the battalion commander. So pretty soon.
So the buck stopped on your desk, huh?
Yeah. So I took the battalion, and from my position, I could see what was wrong, and I tried to tell the battalion commander what needed to be done, and don't look down that pipe, gal. But anyway, they moved me up as a battalion commander, and we had a commander that would be coming in 8 months or 10 months or whatever it was. So I had that organization. Again, had some great people working for me that just worked hard and did their jobs and appreciated a pat on the back. And then I left there and back to St. Louis. So that's given me my 3 short tours. Mm-hmm. And it was back as Apache automatic test equipment and assistant project manager. So we had these big vans of equipment, where if you take a component off an aircraft, they're so expensive, you can't ship it off and have it in the chain for months. You got to run that and run it against the program and determine what needs to be repaired and repair it there. So that turnaround. So we had 3 like 18-wheel vans.
Gotcha.
And that was.
I have to ask, how much was each one of them worth? Do you remember?
Oh, I forget.
Okay.
But I know that we were 8 months behind schedule when I took it. And there was another problem too, and that was the computer programs themselves. And we had to purify those. And I had a guy working for me, an Army civilian engineer, brilliant. His father had worked on the atomic bomb project in Chicago, World War II. Mike Emhoff. Mike would have a problem come up, and he would look at the wall, and he was visualizing the computer program. And he would work his way through, and he'd say, "It's right there." Well, I could turn around and look at the wall. I didn't say anything. But he was that intelligent. So dedicated. And he was my key guy.
Excellent.
And just let Mike run. So within the 10 months, we were back on schedule and within cost. And had everything going. I did a lot of traveling. But it was the people that were working for me. And just treat them well and appreciate them and pat them on the back.
Yeah.
If they need a kick in the butt, kick yourself and then kick them.
That's a good philosophy. Okay. Well, what'd you do after that?
Then
the Army War College. I was.
And that's where?
Army War College,
Where?
up in Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
Yeah, right. Gettysburg, just to the north.
Okay.
And that was, I didn't have time to take a year off to go to the school, so I went ahead and took all the courses, and then up there for a period of time to finish it up. And of course, that then prepared me for the Black Hawk project managership. So, and it was at that time that we came along real well with the medevac, the latest UH utility helicopter, 60. We call it a Mike model, an AM model. And that could provide then the emergency room to the soldier in the field and go ahead and once you get him, then he's right in the emergency room and he's being treated while you're flying back.
Oh, fantastic.
We didn't have that before. Remember my little brother?
Mm-hmm.
The troops, the guys we got letters from, said that they were sure Don was going to live, but it just took too long.
Mm-hmm.
So I planted that in the back of my head and said, hey, we got to do better. We got to do better. And we got the National Guard, Surgeon General of the Army, and the general officer actually is from Pentagon, and he agreed, the National Guard, to provide an aircraft and a unit that we could start building from. So with that support and also the support of my boss, we were able to build these things.
Fantastic.
And that's why you see the percentage of people that would be dying from wounds has dropped significantly. You know, and if you lose a leg to the roadside bombs, for instance, but the leg is an appendage. You got 4, or maybe more, depending on. You can live with a wooden leg, or as we talked about in the ancient army.
Mm-hmm.
But it's to save the life, and so I really feel great that this worked.
Fantastic.
And the good Lord gave me that experience and probably initiative to make it happen. So, but then we had
There's a lot of people in this world who would probably like to thank you if they knew who you were.
Yeah. Well, and it's working together. It's the National Guard, and I've been in the Guard, and then
Mm-hmm.
and then we had beyond them we had the command here supporting me, and then we had those in D.C. So everybody was lined up to do the job, and the people providing the funds. We had a politician that we invited down to the open house. I won't name the name. And we said, being that this National Guard unit is in your home state, here's an aircraft that saved lives. We got back from his staff, said, oh, that's an instrument of war. We can't have him come down there. Fact.
Okay.
So.
Well, after you got done with this project, where'd you go?
See?
After you got done with this project, where'd you go?
Then I retired.
I
had 31 years, 6 months, and a day, because of all my guard time, yes, and then my 26 years active, and and the people coming up behind me I had trained. They had followed me in multiple assignments, so I was hoping that what I'd done was right.
Oh, after all this time of being in the military, and a lot of it being in charge, how did it feel to be retired?
Well, I was looking forward to working in another profession. And I really ended up, and of course we were limited to who we could talk to and what organizations, and rightfully so. That should never happen. You should never work for somebody that you had hired or employed or contracted with. And so I had a young fellow that had worked for me at one time, and very intelligent young guy, and he came by, and they were doing work for all the services, but not specifically for Blackhawk, and he said, are you looking to do some work? I said, yeah, I'm not too old yet. So I talked to him, I talked to a couple of there was a place on the West Coast, but I didn't want to go there. This area has become home for us, and so I said, yeah, I'll go to work for you. So I ended up working, running an office here in St. Louis. And we worked predominantly with special operations and airframes, and also having had all the jammers and that sort of thing fit right in with them. Yeah. And then customs and their airframes and their operating manuals and everything. So I was just right in. That's the cat's meow for me. So I really I worked there for 7 years. And made a lot of good friends and had good people. And then it's I retired there, and I'm very active in the church, as you can probably tell. And then we have a home out in the country on the lake, and so my son and daughter, Joan has got 2 master's degrees, and but she had some problems with operations and some real, while in the military, and that's slowed her down a little bit. And then my son Jeff is, you guessed it, he's working aviation, engineer. He's worked on all the fighters, and that's all multiple subsystems, electrical, electronic, and engineering. And so he's worked for a number of corporations and very, very successful. But he's a lot smarter than his dad was.
Okay. Well, I wanted to ask a few questions about while you were over in Vietnam. Mm-hmm. Did you have plenty of supplies?
Plenty of supplies? Mm-hmm. You bet. Yeah, we had everything. Again, the people that didn't have them really didn't understand why they didn't have them. When I went through the aircraft maintenance course, a lot of that was in supply. How does it work? How do you get these things? How do you get rid of excess? What do you do? And also, great guys that were successful were back there teaching, from the NCOs to the warrants, predominantly. And of course, they bringing in the officers into that. So that was the main reason they didn't account for and secure what they had, and then pass on to other people that you didn't need if there was a valid requirement, a request, a requisition.
Okay. Well, did you feel pressure or stress while you were over there?
That's why I came back at 155 pounds. And let's go. And having coming from a military family, that you wanted to ensure that each person you laid your hands on was doing the job. I've got a little story that I really liked. I had a Spec 6
Specialist?
Specialist 6.
What's
Who was a...
the difference between a regular specialist and a specialist 6?
Well, there's a guy that had fewer people, and he was in the aircraft maintenance field.
Okay.
Well, of course, he was well known, and he had the training on supply and everything. But he started to slip in his duties, and I asked him, something's wrong. Tell me, can I help you? No. I'm okay. And I continued to watch him more closely, and so I caught some errors he was making. And I said, you got to tell me what your problems are.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I can help, or I've got other brothers in the service, and they can figure out where we can help you. Oh, no, I'm okay. So I caught him. My brother Glenn had stopped at the unit to go through at our base, if you will. I told him I was having trouble with this guy, and he was super true. Then I heard some noise, and so I was at the senior NCO hooch with my brother Glenn, and we were sitting there and go in and find out what's happening. They didn't know. But I heard some noise outside, so I went out, and here's this kid. He was drunk. And I said, you still got a problem, huh? And he said, I got no problem. I said, if they mortar us, and you're hanging on this fence, and you're killed, you know what I'm going to write in my letter to your wife? You were drunk on the fence. And I said, you get down to the hangar. You get yourself squared away, and I'll be there in an hour. Well, needless to say, he went. I went back into the hooch, and in come the mortars. And I went right down, and then he was out on the perimeter, and on. And so he came back, and I took him aside, and I said, what did I tell you? He said, how did you know they were going to mortar us? But I said,
they did regularly. It was a good guess.
Are you going to tell me now? And he said, yes, sir. My good buddy at home is putting pressure on my wife. And I said, well, did you get along well with your father? He said, my dad and I are like this. I said, I am too with my father. I said, it'll take a couple weeks, but write to your dad and tell him what the problem is. And I said, would he do anything for you? He said, mm-hmm. So 1 week, the letter goes. The next week, back comes an answer. So he comes in to my office, and he says, I said, what did he say? You got to read it. My dad says, son, it's my job to take care of the home. He said, me and my shotgun went over and talked to Bill or Joe or whoever. You will never have any problem again. He's going to leave the country. And it's things like that really make you feel good. And if I would have had that problem, my dad would have done the same thing. So.
I hear you.
So that, to me, was, through that action, maybe saved not only himself, but a crew.
Mm-hmm.
But it's on a side.
Well, was there something special you did for good luck?
For the what?
For good luck.
For good luck? I think with the good Lord watching over you, and if you maintain your health, mm-hmm. and your physical, emotional strengths, and don't taint it. People say, you didn't smoke it, you didn't heroin? No, I never have. I did have a puff of a cigarette in the 6th grade. I thought that was terrible. And the guys that would drink to release their emotions, and well, I never did that. Like a glass of wine once in a while, and that's it. So, and I think that if you, and then the good luck, remember the person, or the thing that was standing alongside of me, and that's good luck.
Yes.
So.
But did you keep a personal diary or journal?
No, but my wife's got all my letters. I've got 300 pictures, I think, and she wants me to write a book sometime.
Did you go back to school? Did you go back to school?
Did I go back to school? While I was in the service, I also got my master's.
Did you use your GI Bill?
Yeah, sure did. And so I got a master's in management. And then within 6.5 years of Army school, a doctorate just doesn't. I am who I am.
I understand.
Or I be who I be.
Did you join any veterans organizations?
Yes, sure have.
Which ones?
Army Aviation Association of America. And I've been one of the guys there that have served different positions. DAV.
Which is Disabled American Veterans.
Disabled American Veterans. And that is a fine organization, just really fun. And then, as I said, I was in the church, and I've been an officer in the church for many years. And I've also gone back to my university. It was a state college at the time, and with that, I joined the foundation, and that's where you try and get money to support the kids and scholarships and all that. So I do that, and so I'm paying back. You know, it was those instructors that took a little dairy farm boy and grew him into a man.
Yeah.
I still enjoy meeting them. And that's where Joan and I, my daughter, were 2 weeks ago.
Okay. Did your military experience influence your thinking about war or the military in general?
I think it opened my mind to all the aspects of not only war, but also for the government and the interfaces between the nations of the world. And people fail to recognize that we're now entering World War III with terrorism. You know, we're there. And if they don't open their heads, they're going to be just like those 1930s, late 30s people that sat on their thumbs in the United States and said, oh, it'll go away. It's not going to go away. What's going to go away is your heads are going to come off your shoulders. And it's, oh, we can negotiate. While you're negotiating, they're planning on how to kill you. Now, and I've seen the world. In Vietnam, those people wanted freedom. That's all they wanted. I had a mama son whose husband had been killed. He was a sergeant in the Army. She had 6 or 7 kids. And just a sweet old lady. Not old now, but and she was providing for her family. And that's in the area. We had a nunnery. We had and the Catholic Church was big there in Vietnam. All they wanted to do, and all the Vietnamese that I have been around and with and in their homes, they just wanted to have safety for their family. So what happened? And Korea the same way. Beautiful people, very family oriented, very religious, and just great folks. And I'd visit their homes or their farms. And being a battalion commander, and they remembering what it was like when the Japanese had Korea, and the North Koreans came down to take it away. Bad guys are bad guys.
And they're everywhere.
You're never going to change it. So, did military education, the war, and so forth, my experiences? No, they told me just what my father told me.
Okay.
He said, guys, here's what's going to happen. Okay.
Do you attend any reunions with any of your units?
The Quad A, Army Aviation Association, I, of course, have an office there, and we get together quite a bit. We just had a Super Bowl party at our house. We have a picnic each year for Quad A, and then there's golf outings and just guys that have been around a long time, and so now I've thought about DAV, of course, is great. There's a couple other veterans of foreign wars. When you get that way a little bit, then you get the smoking and the drinking, and like I say, I have a glass of wine at least one a week, and my flight surgeon told me to do that. We can do it.
It's good for you.
In the American Legion, I know a lot of guys there, but again, it's that kind of organization. And even though I love those guys, smoking and drinking. Talking about smoking, when I was aide to General Heinrich as a captain, and we'd have meetings, conferences, and every day we'd go to them. And back then, they were smoking a lot. And I told General Heinrich one day, I said, "Sir, the smoking's going to be terrible." He said, "I was thinking about that." So the next day, when I got in daily meetings, many meetings, he said, "Come here, Jerry, go down and get the biggest, blackest, foulest smelling cigar that the guy down, Tony, has in his shop." So I went and got it, slipped it to him, and he unwrapped it, and then I lit his cigar for him. He was going, it was terrible, terrible. And he said to all the staff that was in there, he said, been talking about the smoking we're all doing in here. He said, I noticed some of you turning color. He said, hereafter there'll be no smoking. And I just, right on. Thank you, sir. So I tend to shy away from the smokers, even though my mother smoked and my dad smoked. And I would, in the morning, she'd wake up coughing, and I'd say, "Mom, why do you smoke?" "Oh, I like the cough." Yes.
Well, is there anything you'd like to add that we haven't covered in this interview?
I think when they look at the expression is brotherhood, that band of brothers, and that's true. So close, so close. And I know now with all the guys I've worked with that we address each other, take care, brother. And that's
not just
so
the same,
true,
huh?
so close. And I was always in sports and other activities, and it's there. And you find that in the military much more than other organizations, because they're just not that close. They don't have to depend on each other for their life. And I would recommend it for anyone. I think it gives the person on the street and the kid, male or female, an opportunity to see what the rest of the world is like and to appreciate what we have.
Mm-hmm.
And I look back at the Revolutionary War, and my first person I've identified is a guy that came to the United States from Ireland in 1743, and fought in the Revolutionary War. And then I look at the Civil War, and from my father's side, there was always a lot of boys. There was 6 or 7 boys each generation. Then it got down to 4 in mine, what I was born into. That there was 6 chaplains in the Union Army, all named Green, brothers.
Gotcha.
And with that, then I look at the Tories. I love history. And I look at the Tories that were supporting the British Northeast Coast. And then I look at some of those people that don't care about our country any longer. And they are Tories today.
Mm-hmm.
Just what they are.
Yeah.
And there's some good ones that come out of there, but the percentage, and I think then what Tories didn't stay went to California.
On that note, I'd like to say thank you for
My
serving.
pleasure.